Now is good.
All right, great. Well, look, first things first, thank you for making time. It's obviously been a little while since we last chatted. I wanted to reach out to you for a couple of reasons. First up, obviously, there are some announcements just before the Christmas holidays from my good friend, Joe DeSena, about options you may or may not have on our international business. So I thought I'd just set the record straight on that one. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about one or two other things that are going on at Tough Mudder at the moment as well. So I had a couple of points to make to get started. And if it's all right with you, I thought I'd just leap in. Does that sound okay, Matt?
Sure. I have several questions, but go ahead. I'll add to them as you go.
Always do. Wonderful. All right. Very good. Well, look, first things first, obviously delighted that Guy is joining today. You know, there's been quite a bit debated and written about in the last year or so about, you know, our relationship and where we are, you know, and from my side, I've been very clear, you know, mistakes were made on my part. I know particularly around his transition out of the business. I've apologized to Guy for that. Guy reached out to me, you know, which I thought was a very big move on his part, certainly makes him the bigger man than me. And, you know, things are going just great between us. You know, we're working closely together at the board, supporting Kyle in the CEO role. And so very pleased to be here, very pleased to be joined by my co-founder, Guy. Guy, I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that.
Yeah, I just probably worth just jumping in is obviously, you know, I've accepted Will's apology. And what I would say is, you know, our interests are clearly best served by working together. And I think we've certainly seen that over the last month or so.
Well, there might be folks who aren't as familiar, and that honestly was going to be my first question. Sure. So and that can probably tail into what you want to say is, first of all, I've never spoken to the two of you at the same time, so this is great. The last that we knew was, in fact, the story we wrote earlier this year that said, here's this lawsuit that alleges X, Y, and Z. Okay. And it was you two not getting along. And it was about things that happened between Active. So in the last year, the case was dropped.
So, and we'll get onto a little of that in a second. And you know, the simple answer is the lawsuit is ongoing, and Guy, of course, is a litigant in that. So there's only so much he can say on that particular question. But I can probably add a little bit of color for you around that. But first things first, let's be clear. And I said this time last year when we were talking about this, or roughly this time last year. You know, I've been looking for the last 3 or 4 years to transition out of the CEO role. I moved back to UK in 2015. Since 2017, I've been working on this new adventure, this kind of digital escape room project of mine. Don was de facto running the business for a while, and now Kyle is running the business. You know, Guy can't get into the details on this. I think the important thing to understand is Guy and I, you know, did have something of a misunderstanding. You know, I've apologized. The mistake was on my part, not on Guy's, and you know, things are good between us now. You know, I remain a Tough Mudder board member. I'm a huge fan of Carl McLaughlin in the CEO role and all that he's doing at Tough Mudder. Frankly, I think he's doing a better job than I can. He's the right man for the job, given where the business and the industry as a whole is right now. And very happy to kind of answer some more stuff on that in a minute. But I wanted to make sure that we kind of got through my points. And I think if we get into those, hopefully it'll address one or two of the other follow-up questions that you might have. That sound okay? Okay. Wonderful. So first things first, you know, Joe being Joe, you know, he's someone I've known for a long time now. You know, contrary to what other people might think, I'm very fond of the guy. I've got huge respect for him, both as a person, as a businessman, and as a leader. You know, he's been in conversations with Kyle for a period of time now. You know, I'll make no secret of the fact that, you know, I think it's highly probable in the next 12 months that Tough Mudder and Spartan will be put together. You know, as well as I do, there are some trends in the industry. You know, I think both Joe and I have grown up over the years and recognize the two brands can coexist under one roof. What is not the case, certainly as of the 29th of December 2019, is that Joe has some enforceable option on our international subsidiaries. He's been in conversations with Kyle on this matter, but these were always subject to board and shareholder approval. Look, my hope is that Joe and I can work something out. I think it's highly probable we will, but we're not quite there yet. So I just wanted to set the record straight on that. I think we're going to get a deal done, but we're not quite at the finish line yet. So, Guy, I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from my side is, I would echo Will here and say there's certainly space in my mind for two brands or for both brands to coexist extremely well and indeed profitably. I think obviously there's huge synergies, cost synergies, recognizing that the brands themselves stand for different things to different sort of communities. There is a degree of crossover within that community, but not as much as you might think if you were completely looking at from the outside. But from a business perspective, when you think about the business functions, there's lots of opportunities for sort of revenue and cost synergies and cross-selling against each other. So I believe that there is a pathway for both companies to coexist together.
And indeed, negotiations are ongoing on that front, and there's something of a soap opera between me and Joe. But I think we're going to get something done. When, I don't know, but we're not quite there yet. I think the third point I wanted to chat about a little bit today, Matt, is something that I'm sure has not escaped your notice, which is that our ticket sales are not open at the moment, and I'm sure that there are lots of questions as to why that is, what that means. There's been a lot written about Tough Mudder for the best part of half a decade now about how the company's doing. There was a lot written this time 12, 18 months ago, most of it, of course, as it turns out, very inaccurate about the financial state of the business. So look, this is where we are, and I'll talk in some detail about it in a second. But first things first, let's just be very clear. Carl's doing a wonderful job. I think he's done an excellent job in helping refine some of the cost base while staying very focused on the customer experience, which I think everyone would agree has been great this year. And I've been very impressed with him as a leader. I think he's making the right changes in the business. I think Don did a great job before him, but Carl was a great breath of fresh air. And, I'm enjoying working with him. It's nice to be working in lockstep with Guy at the board level. And, the fundamentals of the business are actually in a very good spot right now. And we're sitting in a strong position in terms of ticket sales looking into 2020, sponsorship pipeline, corporate sales, and all the other bits of the business. So I want to just start with that. I want to be very clear as to where we are, which is that we as a business are actually having a pretty good time of it. No one's going to hide the ball. The long-term trends in OCR are not what they once were. Warrior Dash is not around anymore. Many other smaller players have gone, and you're seeing two very clear established players in the market these days. So I just want to be clear on that one. I want to be categoric about this as a board member, as the majority shareholder, as the founder of the business. Right? There is no cause for concern as to Tough Mudder today. I will specifically get onto the issue of ticket sales in a second, but before I do, I just want to make sure I give Guy a chance to come in.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Let me start by echoing everything you just said here about Kyle. I've attended a handful of events this year in the UK and in the US, and there's certainly nothing that I've seen that makes me think that this category is disappearing. Far from it. I saw huge amounts of events. Enjoyment, and I always said, the great thing about this business is, as a kind of the event creator, is you see the sort of nerves and trepidation beforehand and the exhilaration of the participants afterwards, and that's as true today in 2019 as it was in 2010, 2011. I think Kyle is a fantastic operator, really puts the customer participants at the center of the company, and I think that's the right move for the company at this point in time. Event satisfaction is ultimately going to be the biggest driver for future ticket sales. We see various sort of challenges around paid media expenses, and that's why concentrating on event satisfaction making sure that everyone, all of the stakeholders are happy is so important. And to Will's point as well, we're seeing great sponsorship pipeline. We're seeing great growth in international licensing, and a real sort of focus on managing costs. So that's good. But back to Will here. Ticket sales is
a
bit of our ticket sales.
Right, and I should point out, Guy's in a slightly unenviable position here because he does have an ongoing lawsuit against Active Global Payments.
Not against you? Not against you?
No, and never has done. And Guy, I think you can come in on this. At no point has there been a lawsuit where I've been named in that, or you and I have been in a direct legal battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that was misunderstood. There never is the case that Guy sued me.
Okay, so since we have limited time, I'm going to have to get straight to some very direct questions.
Sure, and if I may, I want to make my final point, and then we can do that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Sure. So let's just get to where we are on the ticket sale front, right? And then by all means leap in on your questions. Very happy to do that. And we are going to be a bit tight on time, and I acknowledge that, and we'll do our best to try and get through what we have. So look, here is the bottom line. Guy has a lawsuit against Global Payments Active. As such, there's not very much he can say because there's obviously ongoing litigation there. That's something that I don't have to worry about. And because of this, there is some posturing on the part of Active that has led to the tickets being suspended. We're very confident this will be resolved very quickly. We don't think this is a reason for long-term concern, but to state blindingly obvious, and I think it's blindingly obvious, clearly, if we're in a position where our tickets stay switched off on an ongoing basis, that is going to create problems. It's a bit like saying, if you skip lunch, it's not a problem. If you stop eating altogether, then eventually you're going to die of hunger. So that's where we are. Look, we're surprised that they've taken the actions that they have. I'm surprised that they're using this as a mechanism to try and force the shareholders to take certain actions. But they are a business; they have to do what they think is best. At the end of the day, they are a public company. Right? They are, by extension, bound to be reasonable and rational. And I'm very confident that we are going to resolve this. Okay. There's not a huge amount more I can say, and I know you've got a ton of questions for me, and we'll absolutely get into that. Look, the ball is in their court. Guy and I have made it very clear we want to sit down, try and work through these issues. It's obviously causing stress for the company, not ideal for a number of reasons, but I'm comfortable that we'll be able to work this out very soon, and that once we do, that we'll be in a position to start being less frugal with our cash, and be in a position where, in the last few weeks, we have had to stretch a couple of vendors, which is the prudent thing to do, that we'll be able to address that. So,
all right. So this is what I understand to be true.
Go on, by all means, and it will be important to understand from who and why in this, because I'm sure you understand this does pertain to litigation as well. So by all means, fire away.
I understand. Tough Mudder owes Active/Global Pay a lot of money, millions and millions.
We certainly owe them some money. That's true.
Okay, gotta let me finish. Kyle stepped down as CEO. You're looking shocked, as if you don't know this.
That's just wrong. He has a 90-day period. We'd know if that was the case.
Okay, so Kyle stepped down as CEO, and employees were sent home and are currently not being paid.
Well, no, that's certainly not the case. In fact, payroll will be going through tomorrow, and I feel comfortable in saying that. So this is the holiday period. I'm not sure where you're getting your information from, but I can tell you it's patently not true. Matt, we've been in this situation before.
So you're saying Kyle is the current CEO of your company?
That is correct. Kyle McLaughlin is the current CEO of Tough Mudder. And I'm not sure who you've heard that from. If you want to tell me, by all means, but otherwise, I'm afraid there's nothing more I can say on this matter.
Okay, so your employees are currently being paid, will be back to work on what day?
Well, it'll be January the 2nd. And I'm very confident that we will reach a resolution with Global Payments that will ensure the long-term viability of the business. You know, Matt, I must say, this has been going on for some years now, of this scaremongering that Tough Mudder is on the brink of bankruptcy. Oh, Tough Mudder this, Wildine that, you know. And time again, it's very obvious that isn't the case. We've just had a wonderful season, and we're very pleased with where we are. So I don't know where you've got that from. If I could speculate as to who may have been gossiping on that, but I'm not sure it would be helpful to anyone.
Okay, so I guess we have to go backwards a little bit, because I, for one, when I saw this lawsuit last year, was quite surprised. Tough Mudder was very profitable. You guys were the bee's knees there for a while. You were leading the industry, and you went from, you know, there's articles that talk about, you know, this isn't me making stuff up. There's articles that talk about $100 million company, whatever the dollars were. And then at some point you then needed a loan from Active / they're now Global Pay for upwards of $30 million. Is that true?
Well, I'm not going to talk about the specifics. I'm afraid that number isn't accurate. So
20 million, 18 million?
What's that? I'm not going to get into the specifics. Neither of those numbers are accurate. You know, I'm sure you understand we're a private company. We, as a general rule, don't talk about our balance sheet. But what is?
But when things get brought up in lawsuits, they become public. When things get brought up in lawsuits, they become public. So these are the numbers that were in the lawsuit.
I'm aware of that, and Guy can't speak on this. And these are, of course,
you can keep saying that, but Guy actually is the one who filed the suit. So you can keep saying you can't speak to it, but there are documents which say as much.
Well, I can write a document now, hold it in front of you with a number on it. It doesn't make it any more or less true. What I can tell you is I'm not going to speak to this. What is unequivocally the case is that this matter with Global Payments isn't as simple as we owe them money and they're asking us to pay them back. This is a multifaceted negotiation with many things going on. I'm very confident of which that we will sort all of this out in the very near future.
Do you currently, you mentioned that there were some vendors that were being stretched, like if employees are being paid, payables are good, you're very healthy financially.
Well, let's be clear. We are an event business. We make most of our money from tickets. If we have a dispute with our ticket vendor and that money isn't coming in, even...
Why do you have a dispute with them?
As I've said, there's only so much I can say here.
I know, Will, but that's so easy to hide behind. That's so easy to say, like, oh, it's legal and I can't say it, so...
Well, it's actually very hard to say, Matt, because I'd far rather be telling you exactly what's going on, but that isn't the case today, and so I can't. What I can tell you is it is not as simple as that. Tough Mudder is fundamentally not a healthy business. Tough Mudder today is in great shape. And I would remind you again, and all the people who are watching this at home, that for many, many years now that we've heard that Tough Mudder has this terrible situation, so on and so forth. What I can say, and Guy can't, is I think he has a very legitimate claim. And I'm sure that Global Payments are weighing all of that. And like all businesses, when someone has a legitimate claim against them, there is an inclination to posture somewhat in the negotiation that goes around that.
Okay, so what you're stating is Global Payments turned off registration. That's what you're saying.
We are saying that Global Payments withheld our ticket revenues and we prudently turned off registration. They're tantamount to the same thing, but it is a distinction without a difference.
They're holding money back. They owe you money.
Correct.
And so
several $1 million, no less.
They owe you money.
Correct. Several $1 million.
You don't owe them money.
No, let's be clear. They owe us the money from the tickets we have sold. We have what is a quasi-debt instrument in place that we will have to pay them back over a period of time.
What is it? What is a quasi-debt instrument?
It is like debt, but it is not debt.
So Tough Mudder was never in financial trouble and never needed a boost from Active to keep going?
No, we went through a transitional period over the last 2 to 3 years, which I'm pleased to say we're through, and we're on the other side of it now. And we are in a position now where the company will be profitable. Again, all businesses go through transitions. You know, the industry as a whole has had a downturn, but you know this, Warrior Dash has gone. Spartan are also unfortunately seeing these headwinds. Everyone else is seeing these headwinds. We've had to make adaptations to our business, but we are back in the black, and I'm very pleased by that.
So, okay. So again, just to be clear, Because this is like I've received the opposite information from multiple sources. How about that?
Well,
this
that's
is why I'm
fine.
asking
And if
you
you
these
want
questions.
to name them here, that's fine. We can talk about that. But I am the majority shareholder, the founder of the business, and I would like to think I'm an authority on the financial.
Okay, so the one other question I'll ask you that you reached out to me about last year and said this is category not true. At no point did Active/Global Pay say as a term of this loan, Will Dean can no longer be CEO. They never said that.
Let's be very clear on this one, right? We brokered an agreement where I made it very clear I was working on a new business venture, something I've been working on for the last 2 to 3 years, and made it very clear that the company needed a new CEO to come in to make changes to the business. And we went through what was a formality in 2018 that was a condition of many other things going on in my life anyway, including the new business I've been working on now for the last 2 years. So let's be clear, and I'm not going to get it further into the specifics of that, other than to say clearly and categorically, for a period of 3 to 4 years, I've been transitioning out of the CEO role, first to Don and then to Kyle, and that was my decision.
And the CEO is now who?
Kyle McLaughlin.
Okay. And January 2nd, all these people will be back to work and making money and planning events.
I certainly hope so. Maybe some of them have had very big Christmas holidays, but I would assume we'll see the rest of them in the very near future. Of course, all this is contingent on coming to a deal with Global Payments. I want to be very, very clear on this. I have absolutely no reason to presuppose we will not reach a deal with Global Payments, and that the tickets will be turned back on very soon. Of course, if we don't achieve that, then there will be an issue. As far as we see it, Global Payments are a rational, reasonable actor that are not in the business of putting companies that they support out of business. And so I'm sure that we will all get there. Guy and I are rational and reasonable people. Those on the other side of the table are as well. We will work this out. There's been a bit of bluster. There's been a bit of noise. Sounds like there's been a lot of gossip around this, but so be it. And I am looking forward to resolving these matters with Global Payments. The ball is very clearly in their court.
To do what? What do they need to do to get to
There is an ongoing, multifaceted negotiation between the shareholders of the business, myself and Guy, and Global Payments that goes far above and beyond simply repaying a debt.
How many seats on the board are you, or are both of you?
Well, there are 5 board seats. I control 3. Guy has 2. So
that's it? Like you're the only board members?
I'm not going to get into the specifics of the board composition.
Why do you? I mean,
because this is a complicated issue that has the potential to lead to lawsuits, and we're speaking to you in a public forum to set the record straight on 2 matters. And I'm here to say 2 things and 2 things only, Matt, because you've heard certain things which are simply not true. First and foremost, DeSena does not have an enforceable option on our international business units. I hope that's now very clear. That said, I believe it highly likely we will reach an agreement with DeSena in the not too distant future to merge our businesses. It's the prudent thing for everyone. Secondly, our tickets are temporarily on pause because of an ongoing issue between the shareholders of the business, specifically as relates to Guy's lawsuit, which I cannot get into the specifics of because there is ongoing litigation.
Why is Guy here today? Other than to, I mean, this seems very odd that you would have him on and then you would then the entire time say, well, he can't actually say anything to you.
Well, no, I don't think that's true. I think Guy's been very clear in setting out A, his position, his relationship with me, B, the status of the lawsuit as regards me, C, his belief that merging with Spartan is a good idea. But D, yes, it's true, he cannot speak specifically about a matter where he is a litigant. I'm sorry, that's just a legal fact. We've obviously had to take advice on this matter. And so on that particular point, which is the point that you're pushing me on, I have to speak for the pair of us.
Should I get people on the record to say they are not being paid, let's say, will you come back on the show again?
I will certainly do my best. It's a busy time of year for us, as I'm sure you might imagine. I try very hard to leave Kyle to it. He is, of course, now the point person for the business, and all things to do with the day-to-day of the business he is leading on. Let's be clear. Okay? The fact that you have somebody come and speak doesn't necessarily prove very much. I don't anticipate, Matt, that I'll be back on your show anytime soon. I came on to clarify 2 points, which I believe I have now done. There's been a lot of rumors before about Tough Mudder, lots of rumors 18 months ago, many of which you reported. You know, rumors as relates to my relationship with Guy, rumors that I'm being sued, rumors that I've been forced out of the role of the company. All of these things are categorically not true. So thank you for making time. I'm glad we cleared these things up. There isn't very much else I can say.
I don't believe we've cleared them up at all, actually, but okay.
Well, I've certainly stated my position on this.
That's what has happened today. You have stated your position. I don't believe it's cleared up, though.
Right. Well, as I've said, there are matters that I cannot get into specifics of. Is there anything else you'd like to ask me about today, Matt?
No, I do appreciate you coming on.
It's been my pleasure. I've enjoyed catching up.
But obviously, you know, stay tuned as I will be speaking to Joe. I'll be speaking to folks from Global Play. Hopefully, I'll probably speak to some employees. So, I mean, either they're all lying or you are. I mean, is that where we're at, I guess?
I don't think you can go quite as far as that, right? I mean, I've obviously made a calculated decision to come into a public forum and state things that I believe to be a matter of fact. And others can have their own opinions. But clearly, I wouldn't be coming on here if I wasn't saying something I thought to be true. I want to be very clear about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying today. So let's just repeat this, because it is very important. First and foremost, Guy, that Joe DeSena does not have an enforceable option on our international businesses. 2, I am very confident that we are going to resolve the current dispute with Global Payments. It is complicated and multifaceted. Unfortunately, Guy cannot say very much on this. But when we do, it's back to business as usual. 3, the fundamentals of the business are stronger and better than they've ever been, thanks to the leadership of Kyle McLaughlin.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you coming on, and I'm sorry I won't be coming back.
Well, no, I didn't say that. I just want to manage your expectations. It's going to be a busy couple of days for me. You know, you must report whatever you think right and appropriate on this matter. You know, and you know, you're a responsible journalist.
Well, just right. And so you're clear on my intentions. I will be releasing this, right? Mm-hmm. Audio and video, minus the part where we talked about our children. Mm-hmm. And then an article will come out summarizing what you said, but I also have to reach out to, obviously, these other parties.
You must do whatever you think right and appropriate at this stage, Matt. You always will. I would point out that in the past, you haven't always done a great job of representing the financial picture of Tough Mudder accurately, but I understand that you have to do what you think is right on this. And look, it's been great catching up. I've enjoyed our chat today. I always do, and I look forward to speaking again soon.